out of my head.
I was watching a bunch of videos about journaling ecosystems, and I came across a YouTuber named Paula who also made a video called Perhaps It's Sweet to Be Uncertain, and it was kind of about how there's a lot of privilege in being uncertain because it means that you have a choice. And for me, I really liked this idea, but it particularly reminded me of Yum, which I already wanted to talk about. Obviously, there's the sweet pun, but also I really value Yum because it's a song that people don't really get at first. I certainly didn't. I liked the song, but I didn't understand the lyrics, and it reminds me of the value of truly taking the time to read and take notes, because that's when I found the most clarity about what it was about. I did eventually find the clarity, so I'm not entirely uncertain anymore, but I really appreciated the feeling of being uncertain in the beginning because it meant that there was something there to truly take in, something that had literary value that you might not expect from like a Kepler song. I also think just because it has a silly reputation might not mean that it should be written off as meaningless. I think silly is serious and serious is silly. But I wanted to talk about specifically what I do think the song is about. And at first, I had a different impression, if I'm being honest. I thought that it was about pleasure because there are these different extended metaphors, and it felt like what they had in common was that they were talking about pleasure. So we have the food metaphor, we have the magic metaphor, and we have the show. I'm going to call it a show. They kind of talk about different kinds of performances, but the overall sentiment is that there is a performance going on. And I thought that it was about how all of these things kind of intersect in terms of pleasure. But after taking notes, like I was saying, I feel like it's about stage fright. I think there's definitely a performance going on because it's very outward. In the first refrain, they say it's sweet and yum, it's sweet, and they're cutting themselves off, kind of almost like they're rendering themselves dumb. And when they go on with it's sweet and, it's kind of implying that this is something that is ongoing, it's something that's addictive. In the first verse, they kind of are commanding both the subject and themselves, and they say that the spell speaks for itself, kind of like a performance kind of has to stand on its own. And they're saying, I guess you'd say, they're involving the audience, but they're also saying they're illuminating illusions. It's something between them. It's something personal, but it's something that has a lot of guesswork, like a good performance does, like the song does. And they also say, I guess you'd say, I guess you'd feel. And I feel like that's implying that what you say is what you feel, and that's kind of all we know from a performance. In the pre-chorus, they're saying lots of commands. Notably, they say that this stage is what they chose in the past tense. I think that is something that you need to focus in on. They are already on this stage, but their heart is fluttering. They're nervous, and they need to keep on moving. They have to move on after a decision that they might initially regret, which is definitely where I got the idea of this being stage fright. They say, freaky, show me, hold it down. This could be freaky in a performative way, or it could be they're literally freaked out. Show me, it could be show me something or show myself. Hold it down. Again, they're scared, but they need to hold it down during this performance. Round and round, it could be about movement in the performance, or it could be saying that this is something that always happens. Don't blink. When they say don't blink, it could be for themselves or for others. They're focusing on the experience. They don't want to let it scare them or let people see them falter. and then watch us jump in right now, all of this is very performative. I do want to ask if this stage fright is an allegory, because they say that it's a never ending spotlight, and that could imply that this is something that goes far beyond just being on stage. It's something that's pervasive throughout the rest of their life as well. They also say my style isn't incomparable to where the hearts can dance. So there's a divide in the line. The delineation is very interesting here. It's kind of confusing at first, because I like it in that it sets my style as an incomparable part, which I think is important, but it does make it a little bit unclear what the next line actually means. I think that they're supposed to be tied together, because when you read poetry, you're not actually supposed to stop at the end of the line unless there is punctuation there, usually. It's interesting to bring up the style, because it could be like a costume, but it could also be a way of doing things. The word incomparable could be putting yourself on a pedestal. Like I said, the lines are divided, but they're saying it's incomparable to where hearts can dance. So the hearts can't dance in this situation. In their style, the hearts can't dance. There's some lack of capacity going on here. Again, stage fright. And they're going about things in a different way. Any thrill, I'll taste it. Any challenge, I'll change my show. They're changing the sense of how things are going about. You know, you can go on a tightrope, you can walk, or you can say, oh, this thrill, I'm going to taste it. Like, that's a different sense. That's going about it in a very different way. Then in the bridge, no fear, let's go beyond the flames to where our destiny awaits, own the show. This is very much taking charge and enjoying the performance for what it is, instead of just being like incapacitated with fear, which is what I felt like the rest of the song was kind of trying to suggest was going on. But even with that analysis, I do think that it's important to ask further questions, like what is reality? There's some guesswork going on here. There's some personal information. Along with the guesswork. I think that it's important to note the performance aspect of pleasure and the pleasure aspect of performance. They're different, but they're connected, but they're both things that are present in this song that I find interesting. And there's an idea of determination leading to release. So the performance is something that gives you a sense of euphoria, but you have to have a sense of determination in order to get to that release. Overall, I think the song is very interesting. I think that, again, I still have a degree of uncertainty, and I'm okay with that. I like absurd things. My favorite writing is very absurd, so I love a song that I don't necessarily understand, but I feel like I have pieces that I can comprehend. That's kind of the best thing for me. So this is a song that I really enjoy. Honestly, it's one of my songs of the year. I know that it's just like a random Japanese song. It's one of the best songs of the year. You can tell me otherwise, but I love this song. I had it on repeat so many times. Let me know if you have any thoughts about this song. If you have any songs that you would like me to talk about, because I want to do another video where I'm analyzing a song that I've never heard, and I have not heard a lot of K-pop songs. I'm really bad at listening to things that other people listen to. I only just listened to so many Red Velvet songs. Like Red Velvet, I hadn't listened to a bunch of their songs. Anyway, I hope this was enjoyable. I hope this made some sense, but if it didn't, that's okay. Someone said that my best videos end with me saying I don't know what I'm talking about. I think I need to start saying that I do know what I'm talking about, because that would probably help my mental health. But I'm going to keep saying that I don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't. So, I don't know what I'm talking about. I hope you know some of what I'm talking about. Thank you.